This is Stefan Schmidt for InsiderIowa.com. Arizona has just passed and the governor signed a law that is the most severe anti-illegal immigration law in the United States, and it's getting a tremendous amount of attention from all sides. President Obama recently said this was not the way to go, and the law basically permits or actually requires Arizona law enforcement officials to investigate and then arrest and process anyone that they think is in Arizona illegally. This has not been permitted before because immigration is a federal issue, and local law enforcement agencies really didn't want their police involved in being immigration officers. It was considered to be expensive to do, taking them away from other work, and also because we have such a huge Hispanic population in the United States, if the local police begin to arrest anyone who looks like they might be an illegal immigrant, the fear was that people would shy away from the police and go underground, and that it would create a real problem for law enforcement. So what we're facing in Arizona now is a debate. Is this law going to be constitutional? It's going to go into the courts. Is this law really in a net gain for Arizona, which has certainly suffered from huge numbers of illegal immigrants? There are about 500,000 people in Arizona right now, 500,000 people who are illegal. It's probably more than that. My own guess, it's higher than that. And they put a great burden on the schools and hospitals and other facilities and public services. On the other hand, because anyone who looks like they might be an illegal immigrant, that is to say looks Mexican or has some other ethnic characteristics, is now worried about getting stopped and arrested. So the Mexican government just issued yesterday an order in Mexico warning people to be very careful and maybe not travel to Arizona as tourists. There are something like 2.5 million Mexican tourists who come to Arizona every year, so that could be very expensive for Arizona tourism and business. And this is an example of a problem that we have postponed immigration reform, and that now desperate state governments are taking into their own hands. And so it's a very interesting example of what happens in a federalist country like the United States when the national government basically fails to address an issue that is a big problem and a growing problem. We do have then states taking matters into their own hands. So I personally urge you to watch that story carefully and follow it, because it's a wonderful example of the difficulties in public policy making, and it's also a great puzzle and a great question about what is and isn't constitutional, because there's fear that there's going to be racial profiling now in Arizona of anyone who looks like they might be an illegal immigrant. It's a great case study, and I plan to use it in my classes as an example of how complex public policy is and politics. Stefan Schmidt for InsiderIowa.com.